Hmm. Participants are requested to mute themselves, please.
Is the recording has started?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let's start.
Abhinav sir, you can start.
Okay, ma'am. A very warm good morning to Director, ILM Engineering, Greater Noida, HOD Biotechnology, honorable speakers, and all the participants. I, Dr. Abhinav, welcome you all to this 5-day faculty development program on a very contemporary topic, waste technology. This 5-day long program will witness a range of experts in this field from the India and abroad. The names are Dr. Prasoon Rai, Professor Jayanand, Dr. Ashok, Professor Ganapati, Dr. Shiv Prasad, Professor Subhash Chandra, Professor B.N. Mishra, Dr. Bhanu Prakash, Dr. Rajat Pandey, Dr. Shanuja Beri, Professor Indu Shekhar Thakur, and Professor Abha Singh. It's our privilege to listen to speakers of such a high repute throughout the 5 days. Now I request our director, ILMCET, Dr. Jyotsna Singh, for inaugural address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Abhinav. On behalf of ILM family, I warmly welcome all the esteemed speakers and faculty participants from distinguished institution on the forum of FDP entitled Waste Technology, Emerging Paradigm of Waste Management Technology, organized by the Department of Biotechnology. I would like to acknowledge and thank AICTE for sponsoring this FDP and providing us the opportunity to train faculty members and provide insights into this recent development in this particular area. Waste not, want not. This old saying rings so true today as global leaders and local communities alike increasingly call for a fix for the so-called throwaway culture. But beyond individuals and households, waste also represent a broader challenge that affect human health and livelihood, the environment and prosperity. We must know that India is turning into one big garbage dump. The problem is assuming enormous extent and the number are shocking. Urban India is the world's third largest garbage generator, and by 2050, waste is expected to rise to 436 million tons up. Did you know that around 10 millions of garbage is generated in just the metropolitan cities alone, like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Kolkata? One of the total municipal waste collected, out of the total municipal waste collected, 94% is dumped on land and 5% is composted. When it comes to waste management in India, nothing is quite right. Central Pollution Control Board, in its report, which was released in 2009, indicates that around 62 million of solid waste is produced in our country every year, of which less than 20% or only 12 million tons are treated. This essentially means that remaining 52 million tons of waste remain untreated and contaminate land or make it way more into rivers, lakes and wetlands. If we don't take waste management seriously now, then there's no way for India to get itself out of this dump. Our past few months have been very challenging in the education industry, but simultaneously, it transformed completely and brought revolution. Today's FDP is one of the example of such revolution that we are attending this FDP from remote locations. So before moving ahead with the program, I would like to briefly talk about ILM as a brand. ILM Engineering College is a benchmark of best quality education in domain of engineering and management for more than a decade. Our vision is to provide education based on ethical values and responsible outlook. Our students have brought accolades for the institute at national and international levels. We believe in the persistent accentuation of the skill set of the faculty members. We have organized 2 consecutive faculty development programs during lockdown which brought the participation of approximately 5,000 faculty members from national and international institutions. Apart from academics, we strongly focus on developing the research and technical skills of our students. We have funded research projects from renowned agencies like SERV, AKTU, UPCST, DST, etc. We have trained over 1,500 students on latest technologies in past 6 months. We have MHRD Innovation Cell established at our institution, which promotes high quality student projects, startups, and innovations. Within 2 years of establishment, our innovation cell has been ranked in the top 50 MHRD IICs across the country. We have recently established Cisco Networking Academy. Apart from this, we continuously strive to keep pace with the technological advancement by organizing hands-on training sessions, faculty development programs, workshop, expert lecture, industrial visit, joint industry project, hackathon, project exhibitions, etc. We also promote interdisciplinary research and project work so that students and faculty members get to learn beyond boundaries. Biotechnology is an important branch of science and engineering and has a lot to offer to the field of waste management and technology, where every sectoral waste could be well utilized and exploited in an end-to-end approach to deliver low-cost, innovative, and suitable and sustainable techniques related to waste treatment and converting them into most useful product of interest, beneficial by the large to social communities in a holistic manner. This present FDP is an important initiative by the Department of Biotechnology, Greater Noida, at ILMCT to further strengthen its base in the area of waste treatment technologies in a more sustainable manner. The department is actively involved in various funded research projects, areas of solid biomass, waste management in search of novel tools and methodologies developing technology for the future. Also, the session organized by the department in this FDP is multi-spherical in nature, covering speaks of highly learned and reputed field experts from national as well as international organizations who would be covering major areas of waste management ranging from agriculture, bioenergy, electromedical, chemical, environmental, innovating funding opportunities in waste areas, along with most importantly, the legal practices and compliance related to various waste management areas. Waste management starts from homes. The simple thumb rule for waste management is extract the maximum practical benefits from product and generate minimum waste out of it. The hit solution is to ensure maximum waste recovery throughout composting, recycling, and reuse wherever possible. I'm honored that speakers from varied domains, education, and industry are joining us to deliver different sessions in this FDP. I thank all the speakers in advance for their valuable inputs and time. I wish this FDP a huge success, and I hope that this will prove as a trendsetter for promoting recent technologies and addressing the challenge in the waste management area. All the best, team FDP, HOD Dr. Pallavi Singh, FDP coordinator Dr. Vikas Gupta, Dr. Abhinav, and other team members. Thank you, everyone, and welcome once again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have set the tone of the stage. Now I request HOD Biotechnology, Dr. Pallavi Singh, for a welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a motivation. Good morning, distinguished speakers, Honorable Director CET, Dr. Jyotsna ma'am, learned delegates, participants, and my dear colleagues. On behalf of Department of Biotechnology at ILMCET, it brings me an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to this faculty development program on waste technology, Emerging Paradigms of Waste Management, sponsored by AICT Training and Learning Academy. It is and indeed a great moment of honor for us that such eminent and best in domain experts have gathered on this forum to interact with experienced and dynamic faculty members from different institutions of India. I extend my warm welcome to the extremely renowned speakers of today's sessions, Dr. Prasoon Ray from Noble Research Institute Research, Ardmore, USA, Professor Jayanand, Vice Chancellor, Noida International University, and Dr. Ashok Rathore, ex-DGM, Envision Enviro Engineers Private Limited, Gujarat. From today's sessions, we will be enlightened about emerging innovative scientific approaches in waste management, electromagnetic pollution and its side effects, and further on the potential of symbionts in agronomic management. Before moving ahead, let me give you a brief introduction of Department of Biotechnology. Department of Biotechnology is a flagship department at ILM. It has been a center of excellence for more than a decade. Due to its extraordinary teaching and research standards, department has been accredited by NBA thrice, and it has been flourishing in research domain due to grants from renowned national agencies across India like SERB, DBT, UPCST and AKTU. It is a department with very strong faculty base, and 90% of our faculty members are PhD holders. We have state-of-the-art 6 laboratories which promote research in domain of microbiology, fermentation technology, molecular biology, environmental sciences, food technology, plant tissue culture, and bioinformatics. Further, I want to add that our students are upright. They have been fetching top ranks in AKTU merit list every year and getting publications in national and international journals of repute. Also, you'll be glad to know that our student projects have been funded by UPCST. Apart from academics, our students have been bringing us accolades in other dimensions at national and international levels. In 2017, my students have won United Nations Breakthrough Challenge and have stood in top 3 teams across Asia. Let us now think why this waste management is such a critical issue. Rising incomes, uncontrolled urbanization, and changing lifestyles have resulted in increased volumes and changing composition of municipal waste in India. As of now, 62 million tons of waste is generated every year in India, out of which less than 60% is collected and only 15% is getting effectively processed, finding its way into landfills. According to an estimate made recently by the Central Pollution Control Board, India will generate 4 times more waste than what it is generating today. So we need to think very seriously and a lot more scientifically to implement sustainable, effective waste management strategies to prevent potential human health hazards. We have organized this FDP on waste technology with the aim to highlight important processes and strategies to manage waste. This event has been a paradigm of our strong team effort and spirit, and I thank all my team members for putting their best foot forward to make it happen. Especially, I like to acknowledge our FDP coordinator, Mr. Vikas Gupta, for working day and night to bring in the sparkling galaxy of speakers and learned participants on this forum. I hope our participants will be highly benefited by this FDP. I wish this event a grand success. Thank you.
अभिनव सर, you unmute कर लीजिए.
Thank you, ma'am, for this inaugural address. Now I request FDP coordinator, Mr. Vikas Gupta, to share rules and regulations and themes of the 5-day long program. Vikas, sir.
Thank you, sir. Respected Jyotsna ma'am and respected all faculty delegates, it is our proud privilege to host such a very reputed FDP, which has been sponsored by AICT in the domain of waste technology. It is an effort of our department, which are going further strengthened in a more sustainable way, that we are working in this domain since last 4 to 5 years. And it is an initiative by Department of Biotechnology, which has been well recognized by the AICT Atal Academy, to further strengthen our effort to find out some novel technologies and solutions to the challenging waste problem. As we are residing into Delhi NCR region, we are very much aware that there are a problem of air pollutions because of so much agricultural waste which have been generated every year, and the ill practices of which are resulted in a huge quantity of pollutant across the region. It is not only the Delhi NCR region problem basically, but it is the problem of whole global scale. Now, this is the particular problem that we are currently working in our institute and has been one very reputed grant in this domain as well. It is my proud privilege to host this FDP, and today I'm going to present some rule regarding this FDP, into which the participants are liable to get certificates after clearing a examination at the end of this FDP. The basic rule that lies with this FDP is that you need to go by 60% marks at least, and ensuring 80% attendance for the all sessions that would be conducted into this FDP. It is a 5-day program, and each day will be composed of 3 technical sessions: technical session 1, 2, and 3. Each session will be having a duration of 1.5, 1.5 hours, into which a learned speaker from different domain of waste technology have been invited, and it is our proud honor that we have been consented by so reputed and eminent speaker of the country as well as at the global scale. Into this further, the whole FDP will be organized online at the team portal. The link has already been shared with the all participant into the mail as well as at the WhatsApp group. And this is one request as well, that you all have to join the WhatsApp group to get more familiar with the rules and regulations and the any information which are going to be circulated on the real-time basis. Most of them have not joined at onto the WhatsApp out of the list of participant which has been approved over the portal. I'm also wanted to acknowledge different participants who have shown their interest into this domain at our FDP. Such a huge response we got. Out of 250 applicants, we could approve only 200, since we have been given a mandate by AICT to get approved by only 200 participants. So this is all in case if any further query will be there, you are always welcome to put your query either at the WhatsApp or at the mail or at to the personal number which has been circulated into the mail to all of you. So very good initiative is this that we are going to start today, and it is really very good that Prasoon sir has joined in very advance to this session. He is the first speaker of the day in the technical session 1, and if any query will be there, you may ask to us anytime. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vikas, sir. Now I request Dr. Nitin Garg, session moderator, to carry forward the event. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Very good morning to all present here. First of all, I would like to welcome our director, ma'am, Prasoon sir, and all the participants and all the faculty members which are attending this particular workshop on waste management. Welcome, Prasoon sir. Prasoon sir has done his PhD from Terry University, New Delhi. He worked with Dr. Pascal Frey-Clit in the group of Dr. Frederick Lapierre on distribution of phosphate solubilization bacteria and siderophore producing bacteria present in the various zones of actomycorrhizospore at National Institute of Agriculture Research, France. He also worked as Associate Fellow in the Energy and Resource Institute, New Delhi. He also worked as postdoctoral fellow at University Claude Bernard, Lyon, France. He also worked as postdoctoral fellow at Academia Sinica, Taiwan. He also worked as postdoctoral fellow at Ardmore, USA. Presently, he is working as Senior Research Associate at Noble Research Institute, Research Ardmore, OK, USA. His area of interest, or you can say his field of work, is agriculture biological, plant microbe interaction, mycorrhiza, soil health, and microbiome. I think that this particular lecture will be very beneficial and will give you insight about what sir has worked. Thank you. Now proceed to you, sir.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, organizing committee, for having me here, and it's my great honor and pleasure to be part of this faculty development program. As Nitin has introduced me, my name is Prasun Ray, and I work in Noble Research Institute. And the work which I'm going to present today is wholly or partly funded by US Department of Energy through a program called Center for Bioenergy Innovation, and partly through my parent institute, Noble Research Institute. Today,
Participants are requested to mute themselves, please. All the participants are requested to mute themselves.
Kindly unmute. I request participants to unmute their speakers, please.
All the participants, please unmute. Mute yourself. Ramya, please mute yourself.
Prasun sir, you can go ahead. I think she has.
thank you. So as I was telling that today, I'm going to talk about Serendipita beskyii, a unique root symbiont which has a vast agronomic potential. Before I start, I would like to give a brief introduction about the institute which I work. The name of the institute is Noble Research Institute, and this institute was founded in 1945 by an visionary oilman who was very much interested in waste management. And this institute is headquartered in South Central USA in a state called Oklahoma. We live in a small town, Ardmore, and this institute is located here, and we have research farms surrounding this area. Today, Noble Research Institute is the largest non-profit agricultural research organization in United States. At Noble Research Institute, we focus on research that help farmers and ranchers to improve land stewardship, productivity, regionally, nationally, and internationally. Our institute considers all spectrum of agricultural research, including basic, translational, and applied. Here we study basic molecular and genetic levels of how plants grow, interact with microbial world around them, develop stronger plants, making them more tolerant to droughts and stress resistance against disease and pests. So with this brief introduction, I will straight away begin my talk. So as I mentioned in my introductory slide, I'm going to talk about a fungus called Serendipita beskyii. Now, what is this fungus all about? This Serendipita beskyii fungus are a soil-dwelling basidiomycota that displays a transition from saprophyte to endophyte and as well as mycorrhiza within a fungal order called Sebacenalis within the family Serendipita. Now, this fungus has shown an improvement in plant growth promotion for wide range of agronomically important crops. And although this fungus was discovered as early as 1980, but the implementation of this fungi in agricultural context is paused by the availability of suitable strains. So late 80s, an Australian mycologist discovered this fungus from southwestern Australia in orchids, and since then there has been enormous attempt to find new strains, but without much success. So when I joined this institute, one of the challenges which I was given to me was to looking for a new strains for an US soil so that we can avoid the regulatory issues. And after a couple of years of rigorous searching, we were able to discover a new strain, which we call it as Serendipita vermifera subspecies beskyii, hereafter Serendipita beskyii, from Oklahoma, United States. And today I will talk about the basic physiology and the morphology of this fungus and how they play important role in sustainable agriculture management. So this is a pictorial representation of how this fungus interacts with plant roots. So this has a huge plasticity in terms of identifying plant hosts and making symbiotic associations with them. Depending upon the type of the plant they are colonizing, they can make ectomycorrhizal relationship, they can make endophytic relationship, ericoid relationship, orchid relationship, so on and so forth. So on the right side of the slide, I am giving you an example where the same fungus, when colonized with a monocot crop species wheat, it makes a different type of colonization, whereas the same fungus, when it colonizes ericaceous plant such as blueberry, it makes a different types of colonization. So this reflects the enormous plasticity this fungus has in terms of remodeling itself when it comes to different hosts. With this, here I present to you before the morphology of this fungus in vitro and in planta. The picture A represents how this fungus looks like on a simple agar petri dish. B represents the fungal hyphae stained with WGA and visualized under fluorescent microscope. And the figure C represents how this fungus intracellularly colonizes plants. This is a confocal microscopy images of this fungus. The green dye represents the fungus hyphae and the red color represents the background cell wall. So this is in nutshell the growth promoting potential of this fungus. We have been working with this fungus for last 10 years and we found that irrespective of whether it is a monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous plant, this fungus has an enormous growth promoting potential. It can range from 30 to 40% to as high as 300%, which may sound very unbelievable but true under severe drought conditions. So other than these crops which you have mentioned, I have shown here, it can also colonize different agronomically important crops such as Bermuda grass, pecan, corn, rice, alfalfa, and it is found in almost every ecosystems. This is a pictorial representation of how this fungus helps plant to gain some early benefit. For example, here in winter wheat, as you can see that when this winter wheat crops is colonized with fungus, it produces much greater number of panicles with compared to uninoculated control. And the bottom right side here, I am showing you a graphical representation of number of panicle formation over the period of 100 days. What is interesting noting here is that when plants are colonized with this endophytic fungi, they gain a tremendous early boost and produces, which reflects that they grow at a much faster rate when compared to uninfected fungus. And this sometimes is a great benefit if you want to harvest your crops earlier because of whatsoever reasons, for example, avoiding harsh winter that is very much prevalent in this part of the world. If you are able to harvest crops 2 weeks before the maturity or 2 weeks before the rough winter is approaching, it's a big benefit for the farmers. Alfalfa is another important forage crop in this part of the world, and we have seen that this fungus can do enormous growth promotion at the early stage when colonized with respect to uninoculated controls. So with this brief introduction, here now I am going to talk about the research focus of our institute and as well as my personal program. So what is my interest is that now I have presented before you, we have identified root endophytic fungus which has enormous plant growth promoting potential. But what we are going to do with that? So my research focus is identify a resilient productive symbiosis to offset chemical fertilizer inputs such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and secondly, manage soil carbon and emissions. Now, as in the beginning of this faculty development program, I have been hearing from you all about different types of waste management that you are talking about. Now, in this context, I would like to remind all of you that from a different perspective, chemical fertilizer is actually a kind of waste. And why I am saying so? Because the amount of chemical fertilizer that we typically add for increasing productivity, maximum 20 to 20%, 22% are utilized by the plants and rest are actually runoff. And sometimes this runoff creates a huge problem in our aquifers and the aquatic bodies, creating a lot of problems. I mean, although we do not consider it that much compared to other type of wastes because there is a cost associated, we need chemical fertilizers for our productivity. But over the period of time, this actually compromises with the soil health, and that is a huge cost. So from this perspective, we believe that reducing fertilizer input and maintaining crop productivity is a very important waste management technology leading to for sustainable agriculture. And our final objective by these two methods is to develop a low input sustainable regenerative agriculture, wherein even if we are not able to increase productivity, our objective is that even if we can attain the same productivity without less fertilizer input, we consider this as a positive impact in terms of cost economics. So now in the next rest of my talk, I will present before you how we are going to use these fungi in reducing chemical fertilizer such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Now, before we use these fungi or before we use these fungus to restrict, reduce fertilizer dose, it is very important to know how this fungus actually behaves in terms of nitrogen and phosphorus metabolism. So to understand this, we have done a study very recently where we have tried to see how the fungal and the proteome behaves in response to the nitrogen and phosphorus starvation. From this study, we came to know that when this fungus was exposed to severe nitrogen and phosphate starvation, how its proteome changes and how it metabolizes nitrogen and phosphorus. Once we know the fungal metabolism in vitro, our next attempt was to know how this fungus helps actually its host to regulate nitrogen and phosphorus uptake under greenhouse conditions or field conditions. So, to do that, we did some transcriptome regulation, and wherein we tried to find out the role of these fungi in nitrogen and phosphorus uptake. So, now in next couple of slides, I am going to present you in detail about the role of these fungi in nitrogen and phosphorus metabolism. So, let us talk about the fungal metabolism in itself. So, what we did a very simple study wherein we have grown this fungus in conical flask, which you all know, under 3 different conditions. In one condition, plants were fed with optimum nitrogen and phosphorus. In one condition, they were 100% starved with nitrogen, and another condition, they were 100% starved with phosphate. And then we looked into their colony morphology under these different conditions, and to our striking observation, we found that when the plants were starved with nitrogen, the fungus grew actually bigger, although its colony diameter grows bigger and bigger. However, their density becomes lesser. As you can, if you see this slide carefully, you can see that when there is a nitrogen starvation, overall the density of the fungal hyphae is much less compared to control, whereas when there is a phosphate starvation, overall diameter of the colony is smaller, but overall density of the fungal hyphae is very high. And there is a reason for that, and it is because we know that these fungus or even the plants, they actually go and search for nitrogen, whereas when it comes to phosphate, they actually go and mine for phosphate. And how do they do that? They basically mine inorganic phosphates by releasing chemicals such as organic acids and phosphatase, so on and so forth. So, by making a smaller and denser colonies in one place, they are actually able to concentrate this release of various organic acids and become a more efficient miner. Whereas in case of nitrogen, they actually have to go and look for nitrogen, and that's why they utilize their entire limited energy to increase their hyphal length and go above and beyond to look for nitrogen. And when we quantify this data, we found that indeed there is a significant increase in colony diameter when there is a nitrogen starvation, as you have seen in the previous slide, whereas a significant decrease in colony diameter when they were starved with phosphate. In the contrary, when you look at the hyphal branching, phosphate starvation significantly accelerated hyphal branching, whereas nitrogen starvation significantly reduced the hyphal branching. And after looking at the physiology of the fungal growth and the morphology of the fungal growth, we went little deeper and wanted to know that at the proteome level, how the nitrogen and phosphorus deprivation impacts this fungus. And to keep this talk short, I just present before you highlighted slides, and what we found is that there are very significant changes in peptidase activity, which breaks down proteins, and ubiquitin transferase, which reflects the broad metabolic remodeling in response to resource limitation. All these different activities are all directly or indirectly responsible for either nitrogen and phosphorus starvation metabolism in this fungus. And finally, based on all our studies, we developed a putative model for nitrogen and phosphorus metabolism in this fungus. I am not, this is a busy slide, I am not going to discuss each and every thing that is showing here, but I would like to highlight just one thing, which is that we have found a very interesting observation that when we make this fungus starve for the nitrogen, the genes which are responsible for organic form of nitrogen, for example, urea, peptides and amino acids, are significantly upregulated to find an alternative way of nitrogen, whereas those genes which are responsible for phosphorus uptake, they were all down regulated, and the genes which are responsible for phosphate solubilization within the cells were upregulated. And what does that means? What it means is, as we have shown before, nitrogen starvation accelerated the hyphal radial growth, whereas the P starvation accelerated hyphal branching. And at the proteome level, P starvation triggered an integrated starvation response, leading to the regulation of lipid metabolism. And why is this so? Because out of the many important components, this lipid bilayer is an important source of phosphorus. So when these fungus are unable to fetch phosphate from outside environment, they look upon themselves in a kind of feedback mechanism to survive, and by degrading their own membranes to meet their P requirement. Interestingly, when these fungus were starved with nitrogen, like nitrate nitrogen, they go above and beyond, which we have seen by accelerated hyphal growth, and they were able to look for organic form of nitrogen such as amino acid, peptides and ureas to meet their nitrogen requirements. Taken together, our finding was that this fungus has a metabolic capacity to assimilate nitrogen from organic compounds when inorganic form of nitrogen, which is the most commonly used fertilizers, are deprived of. So now we know that this fungus has an ability to bypass phosphate and nitrogen and still survive under extreme starvation conditions. We wanted to know that that's fine, how it helps the plants to grow, or if at all it helps the plants to grow better when we expose them to N limiting and P limiting conditions. To do that, we chose winter wheat as a model crop, which is a very important crop in this part of the country, and we dissected the transcriptome regulation of this crop when colonized with Serendipita fungus. Very briefly, what we did, we grew these plants in vitro under laboratory conditions for 14 days, infected with and without fungus. These glass plastic jars on the left side is uninoculated plants, whereas on the right hand side these are colonized plants, which you can, if you look at the root, you can see very cloudy thing, which are actually fungal mycelia. After growing these plants for 14 days, we transfer these plants into greenhouse and maintain there for additional 60 days. And for this study, we call this as an early stage and the late stage of colonization. And subsequently, we did a transcript analysis of these fungus, of these plants in early stage and late stage to find out how this fungus helps to winter wheat to grow under nitrogen and phosphorus starvation conditions. We had some very interesting observations. We found that when these plants were growing in nitrogen limiting and phosphorus limiting conditions, it has a very enormous impact on their root architecture at a very early stage of colonization. Now, I just want you to look at the three control sets, and if you look carefully, you can see that when there is an N limitation, overall there is a less number of roots, whereas when there is a P limitation, there is an increased root hairs. However, when we add this fungus, we found that they were able to overcome this less rooting under N limiting conditions, whereas less root hairs under the P limiting conditions. Now, from this, it may or may not be able to quantify what is going on. So, we went further and use a software called Rhizo imaging software, and we actually quantified the root branching under these three different conditions. And what we found that these fungus were able to increase overall root branching under N and P limiting conditions when with respect to uninfected control. So, what it means that this fungus has an enormous ability to help the plants to grow and survive in rough conditions such as N limitation or P limitations. And then when we look at the forage biomass, it was an extraordinary gain with when the fungus symbiote is present. As you can see in the top panel, that when these plants were grown under full fertilizer, which is full nitrogen and P limiting conditions, there has no impact on this fungal endophyte. And this is no surprise, because if the fungus get, the plants get their optimum food, they really don't need any fungus, or they really don't need any endophyte, because it is a very cost effective for them to maintain a fungus in their rooting systems. Whereas under N limiting and P limiting conditions, when they are struggling, this fungus actually helps them to overcome this nitrogen and phosphate stress and grow bigger and better with respect to uninoculated control. So now, from our initial phenotypic study, we know that this fungus enhance root branching under nitrogen and phosphate limiting conditions. We found that the overall shoot biomass increased by 100% under N and limitation and 38% under P limitations. And we also noticed that improvement in this type of root development or shoot development were not significant when optimum fertilizer dose was applied. So, from this, we know that this fungus has indeed played an important role in alleviating nitrogen and phosphorus induced stress in these plants. So, our next objective was know what is going on and how they are enabling plants to grow better. So, what we did a transcript gene regulation study, and at the transcript level, what we did a co-expression analysis, which means we put all the genes which are expressing in a similar pattern together, and we found that this co-expression analysis tells us that everything is happening in a very regulated manner. All the genes which are differentially expressed under early stage were clustered together, whereas genes which are differentially expressed at the late stage were clustered together. So this is just a visual representation and it tells us nothing more than that. But we wanted to know what mechanism is actually happening in the background which helps the plants to survive nitrogen and phosphorus stress. To do that, we did a pathway analysis, both early stage and late stage of colonization. And what I am presenting here to you is all the different metabolic pathways that were significantly enriched because of this fungal colonization. And this is what we have seen in the early stage. This is what we have seen in the late stage. This is a very busy slide. I really don't want you to go through each and every pathways, but to keep it simple, I present before you what were the salient findings from this study. What we found that we have seen before that fungus modulates the root development. What we found that genes which are responsible for primary root development were downregulated, whereas genes which are responsible for root hair development were upregulated. And this is very interesting because when you make the plants starve, what they want to do, they want to save their energy by producing more root hairs, which helps them to mine more phosphate, whereas they want to stop their primary root elongation because they know there is no phosphate, so no point of growing.
Actually, solid waste management वर IIT सेशन चालू आहे, एक्सपर्ट सेशन. तो त्याची लिंक तुम्हाला प्रोव्हाइड केली जाईल.
Yes. Seetal ma'am. Excuse me, Seetal ma'am. Hello. There will be question answer session after the technical session 1 is over. Okay. So please put your any query in the chat box if you are having any query at the moment. There will be a separate question and answer session. It will not be allowed in between the speaker presenting his slide right now. Please, Prasun sir, you may carry on.
We also found the genes which are responsible for phosphate transport and utilizations were upregulated. And several transcriptional factors that were responsible for phosphate starvation response were also upregulated when this fungal symbiont was present. When it comes to nitrogen starvation, again we found that genes which are responsible for nitrogen uptake, such as ammonium transporters and nitrogen regulators, were expressed by this fungus. Genes responsible for nitrogen remobilization within the plant system were significantly induced by this fungus, and also this fungus modulated root architecture and shoot development for a better growth when the plants were starved with nitrogen. So now we have shown you that this fungus significantly improves the growth of the crop, winter wheat, under nitrogen and phosphorus starvation conditions. But these are all greenhouse studies, and we wanted to know that whether it is really happening in the field. So to do that, we did a field trials in 2016 and 2017, where we wanted to know how this fungus actually helps to plant grow under field conditions, and as well as how it competes with the native microbiome. And we found that this fungus can indeed increase the biomass of this crop even under field conditions. So before I end my talk, I will like to shift gears and talk little bit about how this fungus can help in carbon sequestration and mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. So picture on this left is a hypothetical concept which tells us how the soil carbon is managed naturally by the microorganisms. So what we are showing in this figure is that when there are these microorganisms which are free living decomposers.
हाँ sir.
So please continue.
So what I am trying to show in this picture is in soil, basically free living decomposers are responsible for breaking down the soil organic matters. But when such breakdown happens by free living decomposers, carbon released in this process are simply released into the atmosphere, which enhances the greenhouse gas emission. But this fungus, about which I have talked for last few slides, they are not only symbionts, but they also have an enormous ability to break down soil organic matter. So what we are proposing here, that when this type of breakdown of soil organic matter is achieved by symbiotic fungi, it actually acts as a feedback where the carbon release or breakdown are actually given back to the plant, and thereby it can mitigate the greenhouse gas emissions.
आप लोग बैठ के बेटा पढ़ाई करो.
So which
मनीष निगम जी,
जब तक पढ़ाई करो ना बैठ के.
मनीष निगम जी अपना माइक म्यूट कर लीजिए.
क्या आप लोगों के गेट के एग्जाम में कुछ पढ़िए बैठ के.
मनीष निगम जी.
All the participants to please keep themselves muted during the session. It disturbs the speaker. So please be mute when the session is going on.
Okay, so what happens is when we use symbiotic fungi, which can also act as a decomposer, we hypothesize that the overall soil organic matter turnover and subsequent CO2 emissions are much less compared to free living nitrogen, free living decomposer bacteria. And if we use this type of fungus, and which we call this as a tight loop decomposition system, it can help to manage soil carbon more efficiently and limit unnecessary losses. So with this, I end my talk here, and I hope you have learned something new today, and I thank you. This is an aerial view of our institute, and now I'm ready to take any questions if you have any.
If participants have any question, then they will write their question in conversation.
The session is open for the question and answer. Please put your questions in the chat box.
Anyone willing to interact with the speaker may interact now. Yes. Anyway, Prasun sir, may I ask you a small question regarding this topic?
Yes, please.
Since mycorrhiza is a very great symbiont, how do this particular microorganism is going to help us into the field of carbon sequestration and carbon footprint? how can we reduce those carbon footprint using this microorganism specifically?
Yeah, this is a great question, Vikas. And this is a carbon crazy world now. I mean, everywhere in the globe now we are talking of carbon sequestration and soil carbon management. So, as I was trying to present in my very last slide, so how carbon sequestration happens in the soil. Basically, soil is a huge reservoir of carbon which is otherwise not accessible to plants if there is no microbes. These microbes actually helps in breaking down of carbon and give it back to the plants. Now, if you have a microbe such as a mycorrhiza which can break down carbon and at the same time it makes an symbiotic association with plants, the anything which is an after effect of this breaking down goes back to plant more efficiently compared to non-mycorrhizal fungus. So, in this way, if you use a symbiotic fungus, it can keep the carbon within the plant more efficiently as opposed to the free living fungus. Does it make
Yeah.
sense? Okay.
And one more thing, sir, that I would like to ask. Uh, since this is a very great micro system, which is known to have extract some heavy metal from the contaminated land. So, do we have any technology at present using this particular microbial system, using which we can extract the heavy metal from different source-based pollutant? I mean, industrial sector are there which are producing so much heavy metal into the water stream.
Yeah, so what we use actually, the fungus itself does not have a strong capacity to do heavy metal uptake or something. What we do actually, we use some kind of crops which has a deep rooting system, for example switchgrass, and we couple this fungus with this switchgrass or any other deep rooting cropping system, and that we use as a phytoremediation.
Yep.
And this is how we actually use this project here quite regularly, where we use any deep rooting system to capture heavy metals from the soil and then just keep it immobile in the soil.
So, as per your opinion, sir, I mean, if it is into the market, I mean, real world as a technology which is being utilized by industrial sector right now, or it is at the research scale level only.
Yeah, so it is already under a commercial pipeline, but not
Yeah.
for waste management or bioremediation, but for crop improvement. It is already uh, like
So, can
we
this
have.
technology be used in otherwise manner as well, like into this domain of waste technology or management?
Yes, of course. I mean, if there is any interest from any industry,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it can be used. We have done manage waste like a bioremediation. I would not say bioremediation. I would say phytoremediation
Yes.
and the research plots, but there hasn't been any technological upgradation.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And so, participant, there goes a very good scientific approach into this. Like using biotechnological tool, we can address so many source-based pollutant and contaminant which are creating a nuisance or health hazard to our daily life. Thank you so much, sir. And over to Nitin, sir.
Thank you, Vikas sir. It was indeed a very good presentation, and
Nitin, sir, your mic is mute. Your voice is not coming. Your mic is still mute. You could unmute it. Device mute has been gone. Like. Sub.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prasun sir. It was a very good presentation, and one of the most beautiful thing in this presentation is the way of presentation. You have given you have shown very good slides, and even a person who is not very much familiar with that particular topic can get an insight of the topic. That is the most beautiful thing of this presentation.
Thank
And
you.
when Ragini Krishna has the doubt that how this topic is related to waste management. So I think that Vikas sir has asked the question, and sir has already cleared the importance of this topic in waste management. If sir wants to say some more, something else in this question, then it's over to you, sir.
So
Does the fungi need to
it's
be
all
utilized for
about
the same plot?
now. When it comes to waste, it's all about perspective, how you define waste. Now, if you are talking of like heavy metals or industrial chemicals or harsh chemicals, this is an open and shut case. We all know how these are waste. But if you think about, these chemical fertilizers which we use every day, it is actually a kind of waste. I mean, as I have pointed early in my talk, that amount of nitrogen and phosphorus which we add to the soil, not only in India, like globally, it is mind-boggling. And most of the fertilizer which we add are actually not utilized by the plants. Merely 10 to 20% is actually utilized of the plants, and rest is actually runoff. Now, which is actually creating an enormous problem to the soil health. And adding fertilizer, you have, if you add, X dose of fertilizer this year, you have to keep on increasing more and more and more to gain the same productivity, and you are compromising with soil health. So, to address your question, how this is related to the waste management, it's all about a perspective, how you defined what is your definition of waste. If you consider chemical fertilizer as a waste, then it is relevant, but if you do not consider it as a waste, then may not.
Any other question from participant?
Olivia, you got mute. Your voice is not coming.
Is it audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a question from the participant Mayank Kundu. He is asking, does the fungus needs to be utilized for the same plot or plant repeatedly, or it can be utilized periodically as per the data of the soil?
So it depends on the type of crop you are using. If you are using an annual crop such as wheat I have presented, it has to be used periodically, like every time you go to the crop, you have to do that. But if you are talking of anything which is perennial, you do not have to use it.
Thank you, sir.
Prasun sir, one more question is there. Can the problem of agriculture runoff be arrested by use of some other fungi?
Yes, of course. I mean, anything, any fungus that arrests this runoff can be utilized. I mean, my point is that since plants are inherently incapable of utilizing this fertilizer which we add, just find out waste not, want not type of philosophy. If you can attain the same productivity without using fertilizer, maybe you are compromising with productivity today, but at the same time you are restoring soil health for generations to come. So it's all about defining what is an agricultural waste. Industrial waste, we all know, it is very open and shut case.
Yes, sir.
But how you define agricultural waste is your perspective.
Any other question from participant? Sir, one more question is there. Whether this fungi help in water transport to the plant or not?
No, it does not. It can help plants to survive drought, but that is through a different mechanism, but not water transport per se.
So I think we are done with the questions, Nitin sir.
Yes, ma'am. No
I
more
would
questions.
like to add one more thing to the participant. Since this is a FDP in the sector of waste technology and different management practices, and we are trying to find out very novel and innovative methods. The method could range from different varied domain. Biotechnology is one domain which is having a very lot to offer to this particular domain, and this is one field which has already established its several technologies addressing sectoral waste management and their practices. And today's presentation of Prasoon sir was one of that kind of presentation, which is of a very highly accorded and good presentation into that domain. So by these novel methods, we can address the real challenges of the field. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and giving your nice presentation on to this topic. It was really enlightening to all of us, and we came to know the such use of tiny microbial system, which is having a very great application into the domain. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
And Nitin sir, I would like to announce the another session that is supposed to be held at 12, I guess.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so participants will be getting back at 12 for the second session with Dr. Jayanand sir. That topic that will be presenting into that is electromagnetic radiation and its bad impact onto human health. Again, a very good session is going to be conducted. So hope to enjoy that session as well. Thank you.
Further, I want to add one thing, sir, that all the participants must fill the feedback and attendance link of this session that is given in the chat box. So before signing off for 1 hour, you must fill the feedback and attendance link and join us back at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, participants are asking to join the link. Yes, all the days for all the 5 days, our link is same participants. We will not be changing the link. Same link is there for next 5 days in all the sessions.
Correct.